We have a very special guest joining us tonight. I'll talk about him in just a few seconds, but I just have to lay the groundwork first. And it has to do with football. And if you're a Liverpool fan, this is something you'll be very interested in because over the last few days, there has been this absolute ruckus regarding the impending move of Liverpool defender Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool to Real Madrid. And after months of speculation, Liverpool fans are still trying to process the prospect of losing Trent Alexander-Arnold to Spanish giants Real Madrid. The 26-year-old has entered the final 3 months of his contract and can now negotiate with potential suitors before he becomes a free agent this summer. Now, there is no agreement between the player and Real Madrid yet, but many believe the deal is reaching the closing stages. And if agreed, it will see local boy Alexander-Arnold, who joined Liverpool's academy at the age of 6, won the Premier League, won the Champions League, won the FA Cup, won the League Cup, the UEFA Super Cup, Club World Cup, all with Liverpool, and he would leave for the Spanish giants on a free transfer. So the question really, a lot of people are wondering is, why are Liverpool fans so seemingly bitter about the prospect of losing one of their favorites? Well, joining us tonight, all the way from Liverpool in the United Kingdom, is Luke Fury. Luke is a content partner with Anything Liverpool, one of the finest platforms that records the reports on Liverpool. Luke, thank you so much for coming through tonight on Game On. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Now, I know you've been following this particularly closely. Now, why are the fans, Liverpool fans, so bitter about the prospect of losing Trent Alexander-Arnold?
Yeah, I think it's because, he's one of our homegrown lads, and you've got to remember that. Just lowering the volume there, don't want to echo to you.
Okay.
He's one of our homegrown players, and he's going for free. And when you talk about Liverpool, you talk about people leaving the club, you talk about the likes of Luis Suarez, you talk about the likes of Phil Coutinho, you talk about the likes of Fernando Torres, and we drew big money for all of them players. And all of them players, 2 of them come from South America. It's their dreams to go and play for Real Madrid and Barcelona. And you can understand that. Fernando Torres, he was a prime age of 26, similar age to Trent, but we got big money for him. And he was really injury prone. He only scored 4 league goals that season before we shipped him off. Now, looking at it, Trent's 26, Liverpool are at the pinnacle. They're one of the best teams in the whole of Europe. And he's from West Derby, L12, local to Liverpool. And he wants to leave. And so us as fans looking in, that's him saying Real Madrid are better than us. But we don't believe Real Madrid are better than us. We want to be the best team ever. And we think going into every season we can go in and win everything. We've got just as much chance as everybody else. So we're finding that really hard to take. We're finding it really difficult to swallow and sort of digest that sort of news. And we must say it's all still speculation, but still, even that it is speculation, there's not this much smoke without a fire usually. So I think everyone's leaning to this could be the honest truth now. Yeah, as you cut to that, exactly. There's not this much smoke without a fire. But we've seen scenes like this when Gerrard was sort of negotiating with Chelsea about leaving the club, and the fans sort of turn this way. And it's the same with Trent Alexander-Arnold. We just feel like we're losing one of our own, and Liverpool's most valuable asset is being stripped of us for free. But Real Madrid, the masters of this. David Alaba went first for free. Tony Rudiger, he went for free. Yeah. Kylian Mbappe for free, and now possibly Alexander-Arnold.
I get what you're saying, Luke, but if you do recall, a certain Michael Owen, local lad, also left for Liverpool for Real Madrid a few years back, but he didn't go on a free transfer. Liverpool still got, I think, like £8 million for him, which was good money back then, but it didn't stop Liverpool fans from hating Michael Owen till today. So I don't get it.
So, if you're looking at it from that sort of angle, Mick Manaman also left from Liverpool to go to Real Madrid. He drew a much better fee for him. But at the time, Liverpool, we've just come back off the 2001 treble, the small treble, as people call it, the FA Cup, the League Cup, the Europa League. Liverpool were in no fit way to go on and win the Champions League and even compete with the Premier League. We were miles behind in them sort of years. Mick Manaman was arguably one of our best players at the time. It was actually before I was born. But looking back on the research stuff, he was one of our best players at the time, but we were in no way capable of competing for the Champions League or competing for the Premier League at them periods of the time. And I think that's the difference. The difference is Liverpool are really at their peak. This is Liverpool's pinnacle. We can go into every season believing we've got a chance at winning absolutely everything. And, Steven Gerrard played in a much, much worse Liverpool team than this and stayed for his entire career until the end when it took him to get benched, before he moved on to LA Galaxy. And that's sort of how we're looking at it. Trent has got just as much chance as winning everything at Liverpool as he has at Real Madrid, and the change can only be motivated by maybe a fresh challenge in La Liga and possibly a massive signing on fee, maybe.
But that's the thing, Luke. He's won everything at Liverpool. Everything. There's nothing more for him to achieve. And let's be honest, it's Real Madrid that we're talking about here. That's the very top of the tree, the pinnacle of club football. Very few players can ever turn down a Real Madrid. I know you mentioned Gerrard. I believe Zinedine Zidane actually wanted Gerrard to partner him in midfield at one point. He turned them down, but not everybody can turn down Real Madrid.
Yeah, just to touch on that, they've got a massive pull, and everyone knows that. They're the record time winners of the Champions League for a reason. They've got huge backing. They're a huge club. They've got an outstanding stadium. But Liverpool, we like to think here that we're a huge club and we're a massive club. We're the record holders of the Champions League within England. We've got 6 European Cups. We might go on to make it 20 league titles this season. Us as fans, we believe that we're one of the global clubs, one of the biggest clubs, just behind Real Madrid. It's common knowledge that Real Madrid and Barcelona, they're the most popular clubs worldwide. But this lad's from L12, I just stress it again, he's from Liverpool. Why wouldn't he want to spend his prime years at Liverpool? It's just, he's a fan. At the end of the day, he's just like one of us. And that's why he feels like the ultimate betrayal, as well as the fact, like we've touched on, he's going for free. This lad is Liverpool's most valuable asset, and he could easily be moved on for £100 million, and he's leaving for free. It's not leaving us in a great situation.
I get that. But you also look at the situation and how fans have been reacting. People have been burning jerseys. We hear that his famous Liverpool mural might be defaced. And you look at all this, Luke, and you wonder, how does this affect his legacy as a Liverpool player, as Liverpool born and bred, red through and through, won everything with Liverpool? How does this affect his legacy as a Liverpool player?
Listen, I think everything he's done for Liverpool will still live on long into the future, and people still remember that. And stuff like his mural and stuff being defaced, it'll be a small minority of fans. As a lad who doesn't live far from the stadium, I can tell you that people aren't wearing his jerseys. It was just one lad on social media trying to get a few clicks and a few hits. People won't boom at Anfield. We're not that sort of club. We won't send them off like that. It's more of a muted silence and a sort of a coming together when we disagree with things, rather than large uproar. And I think he won't get the send-off he deserved and the send-off that we gave the likes of Jurgen Klopp at the back end of last season. But I don't think it will be tarnished in a way that isn't classy. Liverpool don't do things like that. We do want to send him off in the best way possible. Don't get me wrong, but he won't be getting the hero send-off like he would have had at the end of his career. It's difficult. I think a motivation for Trent is also he's looking ahead at life after football. I could say to you now, who do you think's the better footballer, Steven Gerrard or David Beckham? And it is a coin toss, but a lot of people would side with Steven Gerrard. But David Beckham, in terms of Instagram followers, media, business, he's 10, 20 times bigger than Steven Gerrard. And what did he do with his career? He went on to play for the Giants of Real Madrid, AC Milan. He ventured all around Europe and then went off to America. I think Trent's looking at it, in that sort of way. How's his life going to live on after football? He wants to be a global sensation and not the hero that he could have been.
Yeah, you did talk about being a global sensation, and I do recall that interview, that infamous interview early this year, when he was asked, "Would you rather win the Champions League with Liverpool or win the Ballon d'Or?" And he mentioned winning the Ballon d'Or. That was particularly instructive for Liverpool fans. But speaking about the Ballon d'Or, one of the players who's been mentioned of possibly winning the Ballon d'Or this season is Mohamed Salah, who's had a barnstorming season. Now, how would the imminent departure of Trent Alexander-Arnold, how will it affect the possibility of Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah possibly leaving as well?
Well, I think it's evident there's going to be a little bit more money on the table if Trent Alexander-Arnold leaves to try and get these contracts done. I think Liverpool are in a really, really difficult situation with both Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk. We need to re-sign both players, but if the board are looking at it holistically, maybe only one will sign, maybe none will sign. Nobody quite knows yet. Nobody's in Michael Edwards' head. No one knows how Julian Ward and himself are going to deal with these sorts of contracts and how it's going to get done. I think that maybe playing one eye and Mohamed Salah looking at AFCON as well, and knowing he's going to be away for AFCON, and is there something we can do there next season? Because undoubtedly he's going to want to try and win AFCON with Egypt. It's really difficult. If I had to pick one to sign, it would be Virgil van Dijk at the moment, just given that AFCON stuff at Salah. We know we'll miss him over the busiest time of the season. But I want both. I want all the lads to stay. It seems like one of them is already out the door. I want the other two to stay. Mohamed Salah, in terms of the Ballon d'Or this season, you know, if Liverpool went on to put a really strong case in the Champions League, I think he would have had an even stronger chance. But even just winning the Premier League should be enough. He's had an emphatic season, probably the best since he signed. You know, he's recreated the numbers from 17-18 when we brought him in, and he's been an absolute revelation. And he's carried this Liverpool team. If you take his numbers out, this team, we're nowhere near 12 points clear. We're only, I think, just touching top four.
Well, look, thank you so much for coming through tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. But before you go, I have to ask a question for the Liverpool fans. Out of the FA Cup, losing the League Cup final, out of the Champions League. But can Liverpool fans hold on and say they will win their 20th league title this season?
Of course we will, and we will have the biggest party on earth, I tell you.
Okay, I believe you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Luke Fury, he's a content writer for, content partner, I beg your pardon, for Anything Liverpool. Joined us all the way from Merseyside, Liverpool tonight. It's an absolute pleasure having you on the show, my friend. Have a pleasant evening.
Have a nice evening.
Yeah.